Hi, my name is Lorena Saedi. I am the managing attorney here at Saedi Law Group, and today I am going to do the next video in our series about the exciting bankruptcy petition and schedules, which is going to be Schedule IJ. Schedule IJ, they are the bankruptcy schedules that go over your income and expenses. And these are vital to your case. And I mean, other than the statement of financial affairs and assets, like this is like one of the biggies. So, I mean, of course, they all need to be filled out correctly, but I really need you to make sure you're paying attention to what's in Schedule IJ. Here's why. When you file a bankruptcy, be it Chapter 7, be it Chapter 13, your income and expenses are key in determining, number one, if you can even qualify for that bankruptcy, and number two, what you would have to repay if you didn't qualify for a 7, what you would have to repay in a Chapter 13. So when we're filling these out, we have to list your current income from all sources. So even if you have income that we don't have to include on the means test. So for example, if you have VA disability, if you have Social Security, those are not taken into account when we are doing the means test calculation. And if you don't know what the means test is, I have a video on the means test and it will be linked in the information below. And so we have one on our channel that goes over what the means test is. But in short, means test is a 6-month average of income and expenses. However, things like VA disability, Social Security they're not included in this calculation, but they are included in Schedule I. And Schedule I shows what you're really bringing in. And I'll tell you, I've had some folks and they've got some big Social Security, some big VA disability checks, and they can't qualify to do a 7 because they have too much money left over at the end of the month. And you know, if we're looking at a Chapter 7, really, if you have more than $140, $150 left over in your budget at the end of the month, then the trustee is going to say, no, you could pay something back. Even if it's a little something, you could pay something back in a Chapter 13. So it's really important that when we're doing these budgets that you have your numbers right to reflect what's going to allow you to qualify. So when we look at income, we're going to look at how you get paid, and here are the common issues that I see with Schedule I. Oh, well, I'm self-employed. My income changes every month. That's nice. I know. However, you're going to have to give me an average. And I am not an accountant. I am not a CPA. And it is not my job to do a profit and loss statement of your business. That is your job. And so what I'm going to tell my folks that are self-employed, and you'll see it on my intake form, is I need you to give me, break down by month, what your gross, what you make before you take out any expenses, what your gross income is, and then I need you to give me what your expenses are for that month. And then you'll list it out for the last 6 months, so I can do an average. I can do that much. I can add, subtract, and average, but I'm not going to be going through your bank statements. That's not what I do. That is on you. Or if you wanna pay, a CPA to do your books, do your numbers, cool. But you're going to provide me those final numbers, because based on what you tell me, that's what's going to go on Schedule I. So I will list what your average gross income is, because of course, if you're self-employed, our income changes every month. Yes, we know that. However, we have to put a number there. We can't put unknown. It doesn't work that way. There has to be a number. So that number is going to be an average. So we will do an average of 6 months of the last 6 months of your income. I'm going to put it there, and then you're going to give me a 6-month average of your expenses. And I'm also going to put it on Schedule IJ. So that's your expenses will then be deducted from that, because obviously that's not money in your pocket. So that's a big one for Schedule I. The next issue for Schedule I is going to be if you get paid, like even if you're a W-2 employee, some folks are like, oh yeah, well, I get commission, I get bonuses. I'm going to tell you the same thing. All right, we're going to do an average. We're going to average out, over, the last 6 months when you add up your pay stubs or your regular income and your bonuses and your commission, we're gonna have to do an average. But this is where that information is going to go. So this document, Schedule I, is going to show your gross income, and then it's going to show all of your deductions. So if you're W-2, it's going to show your taxes, your insurance, if you're paying child support. We're going to break it out and show everything coming in. Now, very, very important about Schedule I, because I've had some interesting conversations lately with some folks. If you are married, your spouse, even if they're not filing with you, we got to put their information too, because when you file bankruptcy, it is household income and expenses. So you don't get to tell me, oh, my spouse is very uncomfortable and my spouse they're not gonna give it. They said no. Okay, then your case gets dismissed. Easy. Or I won't file your case. I'll say that's too bad because your case won't get approved. And I have a video on this too because I have to send it to a lot of folks and let them know. I don't know why your spouse is being a pain in the butt about it because they're not filing bankruptcy. Unless they're hiding income, I don't know why they would do that. But anyway, they can't do it if you want to file. So no one cares about your feelings or their feelings on this. It is the law. You gotta list household income and expenses. So if you are married, I need a pay stub. Or if your spouse is self-employed, I'm going to need that same average to show what they are contributing to the household. Now, of course, we're also going to list their expenses. So you're not going to get penalized because your spouse, I'm sure, has a car payment, credit card payments, personal loans. They may have child support payments separate that they're paying. That's fine. We're going to list that. So you're not going to get double whammied like, oh, you're making me show income but not their expenses. No, we're going to cover both, but they have to be listed. So Schedule I is where we're going to put income, and that's income for you and your spouse. Whether or not they are filing doesn't matter. It goes there. Also, if you get roommate income, if you have Social Security, disability, if you're getting unemployment, or if you're getting rental income. Some folks have properties and we need to list their rental income here. All of that is going to go on Schedule I. So that's Schedule I, but it's very, very important because if this is off, then it could affect your eligibility to file for bankruptcy. And it's funny, I get a lot of folks and they're like, okay, so I'm good, right? I can file. Well, yeah, if the information you gave me is true, if it's correct, and I'm again going to repeat, my job, I am not an FBI agent. It's not my job to figure out if you're lying to me or you're giving me wrong numbers. When you're filling out my forms and giving me the numbers, I'm going that you know what you're talking about. So again, if you're worried that you don't know what you're talking about, go talk to a CPA and get all that stuff together and then come see me. But yes, that is on you to provide me the correct information. And it's also on you to make sure that you review the documents. I can't tell you how many times someone will be prepping for court and they're like, oh, well, I don't see this on there and on there. Okay, well, that's nice. Could you have told us that before you signed the document saying that they were right under penalty of perjury? That would have been nice because the situation was still the same. You just didn't review it. And yeah, we can fix it, but you know what? It could knock you out of contention, and that's not on me, that's on you. So you have to review your documents. You have to take accountability for that, and you have to review your documents and make sure everything is on point. And if it's not on point, you need to tell us, hey, by the way, I also have this. I actually get a bonus every 3 months. We have to know all of that. Because I'm going to repeat, I don't work for the FBI. That's not my job, is to go through your bank statements like that. Or your pay stubs. You are providing them to us, yes, and we're going to take them and I'm going to prepare it. But if there's something that's off, you need to tell me that. Okay, so that's Schedule I. Income, you have to list everything. So heads up. Now, let's talk about Schedule J. This is where we list expenses. So with Schedule J, this is where, as I just previously said, if you have a non-filing spouse and they have a car payment, they could have their own separate insurance payment. There's lots of things they could have separate. Cool. This is where we're going to list them. Boom, boom, boom. It's also where we list your mortgage, your rent, your utilities, your Netflix, your health. Well, if you pay health insurance directly, if it doesn't come out of your paycheck, we would list it here. If you have car insurance, your food, the cost we pay for, personal expenses like getting your hair done, your nails done, for clothes, things like that. This is where that's going to be listed. So Schedule J is where we list expenses. Now, your expenses also have to be reasonable expenses. You can't be filing Chapter 7 bankruptcy and you spend $500 a month on clothes. That is not going to cut it. Now, this is where our expertise is going to come in, because I will tell you multiple times, when I'm reviewing, I'll review my client's intake form and I'll look at budgets. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's not going to fly. Nope, not going to fly. Usually it is about, funny enough, clothing. And it's like, okay, you said that you're spending $250 on food, which I don't know how anybody does that. I mean, I'm a pretty big eater, and I guess I do spend a lot on food, and I don't even eat out. But still, like most folks, even an individual folk, you're going to spend at least $450, $550 a month on food, especially with inflation and prices. That's normal. You're not going to spend that on clothes, though, at least not if you're trying to get your bankruptcy approved. So our job as your attorney, and this is key, is for us to go through your expenses and say, this is good, this is a problem, and flag things for you so that you know, okay, either you need to make an adjustment or we can make an adjustment in the budget, because the budget, Schedule J, is showing, okay, this is what's going on now currently. And so if we're trying to get you approved, okay, well, we can't have in your budget that you're spending $500 a month on your clothes. That's not going to work. Another example, if you're paying $10,000 a month in rent and you're an individual person, that's not really reasonable. Now, I will tell you, with the way rental prices have gone, which is insane, at least here in, I'm based in Atlanta. So in Atlanta, I mean, it's crazy how much folks are getting charged for rental units. So, you know, an individual person, it is not nuts to see them paying $2,200 a month for just a 1-bedroom apartment, and just in a normal area, not, you know, it doesn't have to even be like in a nice area. I mean, just an average normal place, that's not crazy. So again, our job in this section is going to be to go through things and tell you what you're going to get flagged with. Now, sometimes my clients will say, yes, but that's what I spend, and da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay, all right. I mean, I've only been doing this 22 years, but I'm going to tell you this. You better have proof of all of the expenses that are going to substantiate that expense, because you're going to get an audit. You're going to get a case audit. If you're in Chapter 7, you'll get a case audit. If you're in Chapter 13, you're going to get an objection, and you're going to have to provide all of these documents to prove that you're spending that a month. And it's not just that 1 month. It's going to have to be for a while. You can't all of a sudden decide, oh, you know what, I'm going to just start tithing $800. Doesn't work like that. You need to have been doing it for a while if you're trying to take an expense like that, and you better have proof of it. So otherwise, if you don't, you can't use it. It's not going to fly. At least not here in the Northern District of Georgia. So you need to be aware of all of these things. And again, you know, that's what our job is. We're trying to screen and tell you, okay, this is good, this is not. Another thing, when we talk about expenses on Schedule J, another expense that, you know, gets uncomfortable is private schools. And I'll have folks, and they're like, well, you know, I think it's important. Hey, I get it. I understand. But that is a luxury. That is not a necessary expense. Unless, now if you have a child that has special needs, that's totally different. If you have a child, you know, that's autistic, has any kind of special needs, and they have to go to a special school, that is going to be allowed, of course, no problem. But if you just have a kid in a private school because you just want them to go to private school, which is fine, then that is going to be an expense that will, if you're in a Chapter 13 case, is going to cause you to have to repay more to your unsecured creditors, because that is a luxury expense. And if you're in a Chapter 7 case, it's an expense that we won't really be able to take a lot. We have a small number we can take per child for private school, but it's not a lot, and it definitely doesn't cover most private school tuition. So that expense will be greatly reduced, so you're still going to have to try to find other expenses to qualify. So anyway, just want to do this quick video about Schedule IJ because it is very important. I mean, this is the lifeblood of your case, showing what you have and then what you're spending. And if what you're spending is reasonable, if you're trying to accomplish whatever you're doing in a 7 or 13. So again, this is where having an attorney to look at things and tell you, okay, this is how we need to put this is how we need to put that. It is very, very important. And hey, I'm going to tell you, and I've said this on multiple videos, filing bankruptcy, it is different no matter where you live. So, I'm here in Northern District of Georgia. Guess what? In the Middle District of Georgia, they do things a little different. In the Southern District of Georgia, they do things a little different. And trustees are different, judges are different. So everybody has their little things that they focus on. But at least here in the Northern District of Georgia, these are things that, are definitely going to get you, get your case flagged, and that you want to make sure you have an attorney reviewing and letting you know, okay, here's an issue and here's how we can resolve that issue. So anyway, if you have any questions about bankruptcy, if you're here in the Northern District of Georgia, I'm always happy to do a consult. My information is in the description below, and I can review any bankruptcy questions as well. Thanks so much.